Hello and welcome to our July version of Community Connect. This month's guest is Chris Hmielewski. Chris is the athletics director here at SMSU and appreciate you being here this month.
Well, thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. So as always, we're trying to recap the month of June. We saw more events outdoors in June, and we'll continue to see that as we move on here. But so let's kind of highlight on some of those events in June. In June, Traveling Trivia was back. Traveling Trivia was happening over at the gym, and of course, it started last fall. It was one of our most popular events in town. You get tables of friends. In this case, it's a little bit edited, but so anybody that went to the gym, it just had a piece of a bingo sheet or a trivia sheet, and you were able to play that way. So a little bit changed, but it did happen at the gym on June 11th. June 12th, the Marshall Archery Park opened, and one more option for Marshall for people coming into town and things for to do. Chris, are you much of an archery person?
No, I'm not. Growing up in the city of Chicago, I wasn't an outdoors person until I got to baseball, and once I was able to travel the country, I then was exposed more to the hunting and the fishing, and I would more gravitate towards the fishing. That would be my...
So if you haven't been to the Marshall Archery Park yet, they put a lot of work into it. There's different yardage markers that you can shoot at. I'd encourage you to get out there to see that. June 8th through the 20th, and this is a really cool event. Coach Webb put on a SMSU virtual 5K, and he did it. This is his second year, so Coach Webb was doing this before virtual even became a thing. So, and the neat thing is that because it's a virtual deal, people from states throughout the whole country got involved. And I have them written down here. Only 5 states didn't participate: Maine, West Virginia, Delaware, Rhode Island, and Kentucky. That's pretty good outreach.
Well, I know he was on a mission to get all 50 states. I mean, that was his focus. And when I came into his office about a month ago, that he was reporting out a very similar number, is that, they really got focused, and, the whole staff really does a nice job. Brittany Weiss, our assistant coach, she helps, and of course, Tom is out recruiting all the time, whether it be our student athletes or support for his program. So he does a great job, and I know this is something, one was very different. It was a fundraiser we don't typically see in our department. So, and then the job he and his staff has done has been just amazing in getting people engaged with not only his fundraising event, but Mustang women's basketball. So he's done a great job.
Yep. A similar topic, June 19th, the David Drown Golf Tournament for SMSU Athletics. Big numbers, and it just goes to show that people do want to get out. Businesses are willing to support these kind of fundraisers. Let's talk about a little bit about that golf tournament.
Yeah, we had 33 teams and over 160 golfers, and a lot of credit to Kelly Loft and our Mustang Booster Club Golf Classic Committee. The other thing that was very special about it this year is David Drown came out, and his son was out there, and his typical group that he would golf with, and he made it 13 holes, and we got a picture with that group, and Kelly and I got a picture with David, and it was good to see him out there. Him and Carol, back when it was the Celebrity Golf Classic, were highly involved in keeping that organized, and that was a special moment, and as well as building off what you said, I think our Marshall community and the surrounding community was just looking for something to get out and socialize, and so we're very fortunate. The committee did a good job. As anything in a good fundraising event, timing is everything, right. And I think we had great timing, and it allowed people to get out and see each other. We had to go with tee times instead of a shotgun start. So the only complaint there that you have is you don't get to socialize as much. But I think all the changes that we made, we heard such positive feedback that I know the committee will take that back, and as they look to plan for next year, I think we're going to see, COVID-19 has brought us a lot of change and a lot of uncertainty, but also has created some efficiencies. And I think one thing we learned from this in the Golf Classic is that the tee times that we scheduled versus a shotgun start may yield us a better fundraising event.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, if you had tee times and you know that you're playing at 2:30, well, shoot, you can get 6 hours of work in. So it probably worked out for a lot of people to do it that way anyway. So super excited. They raised over $21,000, nearly 170 golfers. So that is a really nice outing. for an event that we didn't know for sure we're going to be able to have, but you are seeing a lot of golf tournaments happening, so it's good to see. A couple of other highlights from June. The Chamber had one really nice. We had several events. One online one we had Sabrina Ulrich from Sabrina Ulrich Counseling, and she spoke on how to cope with this pandemic, not only during the pandemic, but every single day beyond the pandemic. We had 34 attendees, so it was good to see a good group of ladies attend that. A few other things happened. Marshall Aquatic Center opened on June 14th, so we're really excited that, that's one more thing for the kids to do. Something that we didn't think was potentially even going to open this summer. The Lyon County Museum also opened on June 29th. So a few more options for the Marshall community to go to with their families this upcoming summer. Of course, now as we get into July, we have baseball happening and softball happening, and I just saw a social media post earlier today, and the dad's like, I'm out of shape. I'm not ready for all this running around. And so it was good humor, and we're out of practice and running my kids around from baseball to softball, piano, baton, or whatever the case is. Now it's running rampant. So.
I think it's great because we had spent so much time with our kids, and a lot of us were working from home, and so that's what I'm hearing from whether it's coworkers or people in the community is they just weren't ready for the schedule.
Right.
And so when you look at families trying to adjust now and plan, we're in midsummer swing, and here we are trying to schedule our kids at these multiple activities that have all of a sudden just cultivated and created a schedule. And so it's fun to see. I think it's no different than the Golf Classic. I think that's what people really wanted, is to get out and experience the great things Marshall has to offer. And you were saying the Aquatic Center. I remember we were at Legion Field for a Marshall A's game, and we have youth baseball going on there. And just to hear the young people at the pool and enjoying themselves, it's been great to see activity coming back to Marshall.
Absolutely, and Marshall A's, it's always a fun environment. We are watching the A's game, and you see the kids go down the slide, and you see tennis happening over there. That's a perfect summer day. So, all right, so let's talk a little about, believe it or not, we haven't even started our program here with Chris, even though we've talked about SMSU quite a bit. So let's ask, just got a few questions here, Chris, regarding SMSU Athletics and the department as a whole. So how has COVID-19 impacted SMSU Department of Athletics this spring, summer, and potentially this fall?
Yeah, it's obviously right around spring break when COVID hit and everything started to transition to more restrictive work. Our NCAA canceled our sports season and our championships. Really that's the point I'll start with, is in the spring it was a tough pill to swallow, I'll just say. And I really felt our student athletes, and specifically our seniors in our spring sports, it was very difficult for them to just all of a sudden have their season cut short. Yep. And so, the first part of this was really managing our student athletes and our coaches, because we had some of them that, they're used to having this competition and practice, and then for our out-of-season sports, that's really another season for them in their non-championship segment where they're able to really hone their skills, develop their teams. Of course, spring football occurs where a lot of those redshirt freshmen are really looking to earn a spot or show that they're ready to transition into the fall. And so you have that feeling as if they didn't have that opportunity. And so first we had to manage through that. And then the second phase was, as you transition into the summer, how are we going to approach things now? We're teleworking. So then through the conference, our coaches actually came up with virtual workouts. And so our conference was able to, we brought that forward as a university as part of the NSIC, and that was looked at as favorable. So we created virtual, what we call CARA hours with our accountable athletic related activities. And so it was very unique in that we were trying to engage our student athletes because, no different than you talked about, the mental health piece. And, our student athletes rely on that engagement, that relationship, and that level of activity, both socially, athletically, and then, of course, they were all finishing up their academics. And then we transition to the summer, which then becomes more of a camp focus and more of our revenue generation.
Right.
And so a lot of uncertainty to gathering, as we've all seen the Minnesota Department of Health mandates and the different things that have come out. So really working with our coaches, is this possible? And then the NCAA came out with that you can now do strength and conditioning and voluntary workouts, which is what we've spent the majority of the time here in the last 3 weeks working with, is to make sure our current student athletes, our returning student athletes can engage our coaches, and they can get together and they can get in the weight room and get their workout, as well as have some voluntary workouts with their coaching staff, which we've never had the opportunity to do before. Mm-hmm. Our fall sports could work with our strength and conditioning coach, but our other sports were just on their own to volunteer. Mm. So, in a very short period of time, I just gave you an awful lot of work because none of it was how we've done business in the past. So you had to create all the protocols and everything in order to abide by what the state, the NCAA, and of course the Minnesota state system allows us to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's a lot to manage. I know Coach Bigler and some of his summer basketball camps had to get canceled because of everything that's happening. What's the most challenging part of managing all this? Because you have so many personalities you got to work with. You have all these coaches, and you have all this staff, and you have NSIC.
Yeah. And everybody, to your point on the NSIC, everybody is a little different because of their governance structure. Your private institutions are governed by a board of trustees. We are governed by the Minnesota state system. The U of M system is within our conference. And so, when we're looking at that, really all of our schools, we are following the guidelines that are presented by our governing bodies, and then fold in the NCAA and the NSIC. So when you go to camps, a lot of our coaches, and you talk about the challenges, is many of our camps are revenues that will support our operating budget and our scholarships. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of concern with our coaches, how is that going to impact us? And that's been the other challenge, is also trying to continue to motivate and keep the morale of the department up, because they know the impact of those camps. And then take the other piece of camps, and that is it's a recruitment opportunity. When you get to some of the elite camps and skill development and specific positions where they're going to develop skill within sport, our coaches use that as an opportunity to have prospective student athletes come to our campus, mm-hmm. and that recruitment process, that's part of it.
Right.
And so camps, challenges, they are all folded together. And, I was talking with some of our other administrators within athletics, and they're really all interrelated. So when you look at what the challenges are, all of those things are just connected to each other, because they impact recruiting, they impact the budget, they impact our ability to be able to provide our student athletes a great experience. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to do that. We're going to stay positive and hopeful, but at the same time, it's challenging, when you're not able to approach business as normal.
Right.
So that's really the challenge. And then, of course, everything has been very fluid. So you could have a plan set on Thursday and wake up Friday morning, and you'll have to modify that plan in order to meet whatever guidelines are presented to you. And so all of us in Marshall and the state and in the United States are dealing with that very same thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You never know. Of course, we're expecting some more announcements this week from the government, and see where that all brings us to. You've kind of mentioned the economic impact on SMSU Athletics through this whole pandemic, and you mentioned the kids are not able to come and watch, and some of the money that we get from the camps. What else kind of impact that you have economically?
Well, I think a lot of our camps bring a lot of people to Marshall. So when you look at the economic development as a whole, not only to our department or the institution, but you look at Marshall, and that's one of probably the thriving youth sports economic impacts are, whether it's camps or tournaments that our teams have. It's the excitement level is across all, in getting youth sports back, because I think now you're starting to see people move around, and hopefully the economics continue to build. That's what we're being hopeful for. With us, it's just making smart decisions. And I think when you go back to some of the challenges, our priorities have always been throughout this, that the health and safety of our student athletes, coaches, staff, university, that's at the forefront. So when you're looking, the philosophy we as a department have approached COVID with is we're walking through this. We're not going to run, we're not going to crawl, but we're certainly going to walk and make sure that all of our decisions are well informed and we're educated, but always the health and safety, of our staff members at the forefront of the decision making. And President Kumara has been incredible in communicating, with our staff and our faculty throughout this. He's had town hall meetings, and the feeling of our staff in participating in those is everybody has been communicated with at a high level, and it's so hard, with the fluidity of the situation to do that. And I just think on our campus, and I know specifically within our department, our coaches, our staff members have felt informed. That's a big deal.
Absolutely. And a similar topic, you think about all athletes that are coming into town here over the next month. They're getting ready, excited for football, volleyball, cross country. What's going through their minds right now?
Yeah. Well, I just got off a call or a Zoom meeting that, we were discussing those very things. And, we're in a 2-week window now where we're going to have a lot of information and hopefully be provided guidance in how do we move forward with the fall. We really don't have any concrete answers today, and that's the hardest thing. And I think one of the statements that, at least with my colleagues in athletic administration, is we have more questions than answers. And so hopefully as we continue to move forward, we're going to get more answers, and those answers are going to help guide us into what does that football experience look like? What does that soccer, cross country, golf, soccer, what does that look like? And what are those things that we are going to have to go through in order to deliver sport? To go back to the providing a safe and healthy environment, taking the sanitation precautions that we need to. And then the other question is, what does the fan experience look like?
Right.
How many people will be allowed in the stadiums? None of that is prescribed to us. We have a current set of standards, but if we follow those standards, what will that look like? And so our game management staff will have to take a look and, basically take the guidelines provided and then overlay it over the game management and fan experience. And so those are the things we're currently working on. And I do know a lot of people, there's a lot of questions out there. And what I can tell, whether it's our student athletes or our fans or our community is once we have the ability to communicate out what's going on, we will get that information to you so you can know how to, whatever stakeholder group you're at, you're going to understand, what level of participation we can be at. And as I'm very consistent in how I describe, we're going to try to provide a safe environment where we're following the rules and we're providing people the type of experience that they want to have.
Sure. Yep.
In the best possible place we can give it to them.
Right. So in a perfect world, fall sports is next. And what do you anticipate? How do you think, if things were happening as normal, how do you anticipate that? And then secondly, after that, to talk about some of the new programs, esports, club shooting, and club hockey.
Yeah, well, we'll take the first one. I mean, we're simply going to overlay whatever guidelines are prescribed to us, and we're going to create that fan experience no different than we've done in the past. I mean, we are going to try to deliver a great game day experience. Our game management staff, we do a great job as compared to others in the area from a Division II standpoint. I would put them up against anybody. So we're going to deliver that experience. our game management staff will go to work hard to provide everybody a great experience as we try to do every year and at every competition. As far as rolling out new opportunities, esports is certainly one of those things that President Jayasuriya was excited about when he came in, and all of us worked really hard to bring that opportunity to our students and provide, prospective students a new opportunity in coming to SMSU to not only get our great academic experience, but then to complement it with that co-curricular experience. And Spencer Lawaji is going to move forward as our head coach. He's a Marshall graduate and somebody on our staff, and certainly has the passion and the talent to lead us. And so we've done a lot of cultivation of on-campus. We have over 20 students that are interested in participating in esports. And then coming in the fall, we're projecting 12 new students. So we're looking at a first-year roster size somewhere around 25 to 30.
Wow.
And that would be a very good start. We have really tried to undersell and over-deliver on this program. That number could be higher, but we're going to keep it in that 25 to 30 range as far as student athletes in esports. And esports is going to be located in the athletic department. And there are just a lot of parallels. The esports group that we will be involved in, NACE, has an affiliation with NAIA. So there is a governance structure around it. There is a schedule. There are recruitment tools within the NACE system that we would be part of and be a member of. And it's really exciting. And then there's a couple other opportunities that we've had. We've had students working very hard with faculty advisors to develop club hockey and also club shooting sports. And so, we have two great facilities here in Marshall. We have the Red Baron Arena across the street, which, I've sat on the Amateur Sports Commission as we've grown that opportunity for hockey in this part, and also the other activities that get to go through it. And then we have Shooter Sporting Clays, who will be part of supporting our club shooting sports, which is one of the fastest growing sports, not only in Minnesota, but in the nation. And so an awful lot of interest, and those numbers are looking good as well, Brad.
Good. So if you had a message for the Marshall community and all the watchers, and how can the community get behind SMSU Athletics? We got the Boosters Club, and we want the fans to come and enjoy watching these teams. They're a lot of fun. I go to a lot of the football games, the basketball games. What's that message to the watchers right now? How they can get behind SMSU Athletics?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that SMSU Athletics has done over the years with the community is we see each other as one.
Yeah.
And so what we've really tried to do a good job of is get our student athletes and coaches out in the community, impacting our schools. We have a Kids Fit program where we engage middle school students and 500 to 600 of them with a partnership with Hy-Vee. So we look at getting involved. Civic engagement is huge. So I think just that joint support where things are reciprocated, whether you have a passion for joining the Booster Club, or whether you want to be a season ticket holder, or whether you want to be a corporate sponsor, I will just tell you, our community supports us well. My colleagues within athletic administration, they sometimes try to wonder how we do it, because we do have great support. And I think the first step was on us, and that was we needed to go in the community and make a difference. And so, the message is I think we just need to continue to do what we've always done, and that is support each other.
Yep.
And that's the part that I get goosebumps about in Marshall, is because when I came here 20 years ago, we worked very hard under Butch Raymond to develop that model and that relationship where the college and the community are one. And I'm proud to say that when I walk around the Marshall community, I feel it now. And so, I think we just need to continue to support each other. we mentioned economic development before, and that's what we do is we're supporting the business community, we're supporting the school district, we support the high school, we support the surrounding communities. And I think we just all have to rally around that. And as long as we do that, we will be successful. So that would be my message.
And I've said many times, I grew up here, left for 15 years, came back 6 years ago. It was a very black and orange town growing up here with Tiger colors, which is fine, but SMSU played, in my opinion, very second fiddle. I've been back here, it is even Steven, and it is equal support for both entities, and it's good to see.
Well, and you're going to announce my colleague across the street who will probably join you here in the near future, and Bruce Remy and I, we've developed that relationship. We support each other. We collaborate on an awful lot of activities together, scheduling. There's a joint use agreement between SMSU and the high school, so we have to schedule athletic events and fine arts opportunities and different things between the high school and college. And so part of it is we're also making that effort. Right. And we want fans to support the Tigers, and we want fans to support the Mustangs. And I think that was one of the steps we probably took 4 or 5 years ago in just making sure that when we do schedule events, that we know we're going to have good crowds. We take into consideration the Marshall community. And so, once again, just that collaboration to make sure you're thinking of each other.
Sure.
And then in turn, our fans benefit.
Yeah. Well, good. Thanks, Chris. So let's talk about some other things that we can look forward to in July. More things are opening. This upcoming weekend, the return of the farmers market. Of course, it's so good for the community. It's so many people come to that. It starts this Saturday, July 11th, goes all the way through October, and it's kind of neat to see the different products you see now compared to the fall, and how that all moves forward. Crazy Days is on a schedule next Thursday, July 16th. Of course, we talk about economic impact. You hear me talk about on here every single month is to live local, shop local. Great way to do that next Thursday, the 16th. Along with Crazy Days, the Visit Marshall Medallion Hunt is scheduled July 13th through the 16th. So this is something you can take your family out and try to find the medallion hunt. It's the second year for it. Clues will be posted on the Visit Marshall social media channel. So that's kind of a neat opportunity for the community to get involved with. Of course, I mentioned this earlier with Chris. You're starting to see some soccer and baseball and softball games. So it's exciting to see some of the parks getting filled up. As I drove in today, something's going on at the track and field complex. I think one of the high schools is using it for their football practices, so that's good to see. The Marshall 6 Theater is opening on July 24th, originally scheduled for July 10th. So you can now start go see some movies at the 24th with some restrictions, obviously. Chamber has a full slate of events, but we do have an outdoor socials scheduled for July 29th. At the Mattress Barn. So it's one of our business after hours. Of course, they're going to have many safety protocols at that. They'll be outdoors. They'll tour some people inside one way or another. It'll be nice to see what Brennan and Laura have over at the Mattress Barn. I know there's been a lot of athletes that's worked out over at that Mattress Barn over time.
Yes, the Mattress Barn has been good supporters of Mustang Athletics. Yep. That's for sure.
Yep. So we're coming to the end. So all these updates are on our website, marshallmn.org, the Visit website, visitmarshallmn.com. A lot of things we talked about from the University Athletics is SMSU.edu
is the university website. SMSUmustangs.com is the athletic website.
Perfect. Yep. So, Chris, thanks for being here today. It was great having you and hearing about what we can expect for the fall. And I know a lot of your fans are thinking the same thing.
So. Yeah, we appreciate it. Always good to share the good word of Mustang Athletics and also thank our community of Marshall for all their support. So we appreciate it.
As Chris mentioned, I'm having his counterpart over at the high school, Bruce Remy, as the guest in August. So once again, thanks you for watching, and we'll see you again in August.